Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2023 Adur Worthing Trust Creative Commissions launch. My name is Richard Manders. I am the manager here at Colonnade House, which is a partnership between Adur Worthing Trust and Worthing Borough Council. The trust head up the fund. It's a trust initiative, which we've been managing on their behalf since 2017. I'm working with the artists to deliver the projects, but the trust have been working since 2012, I believe, Karen.
Yes.
If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please write them in the chat and we'll allow some time at the end of the presentation to answer them for you. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Karen Simporis, who's a local entrepreneur who runs her own eco business called Henry House Hot Pool and Therapy Centre in Worthing. She's the central organizer of Green Dreams Festival. She's a musician and many other things. So hello, Karen.
Hi, Richard. Thank you. That's great. Yes, we've been running this scheme under various names for a few years. And before that, I was involved in similar arts award schemes through the Sunny Worthing Arts Group and Worthing Arts Council. And really, the background is we wanted to give relatively small grants, I guess they are, usually around £500-ish, to local groups and people in Adur and Worthing to get them going on projects. We're open to anyone in Adur and Worthing applying, but we're particularly interested in people who haven't applied before and are not familiar with the grant application process. So we hope our process is nice and simple, and we're offering lots of help and support. Obviously, it's a bit weird with COVID and so on the last few years. So we haven't had many applications on performance, naturally, because of having to cancel things at the last minute. So we're hoping we're back with performance with a vengeance this year, particularly dance. We don't get enough dance applications. So if you're out there and you do dance projects, please have a look at whether you've got something to offer us. We've also this year got a special award, which is sometimes something we do, because this year there's a new Worthing Festival, which is on from the 10th to the 18th of June. Colonnade House and the Trust are supporting it by offering the gallery here. Plus, we're going to have one special award, if we get something appropriate, obviously, that would go on during that time. We'd be very interested in a dance performance, particularly if it was to happen in relation to the gallery at Colonnade House. But we're open to all kinds of ideas. So that's a new one. So I'll just briefly introduce the trustees. You can look this all up on the website. So here are the trustees. Myself, I'm the chair. Thank you for your great introduction, Richard. Yeah, there's Sue Dare, who used to be the principal of Northbrook Met. Peter Bennett, who was mayor and also headed up the Chamber of Commerce locally. Neville Presley has been active in Worthing as a businessman and various other things for a long time. Angela Shaw, who ran the Worthing Festival, and Tom and Slavka, who you'll see in just a minute. In fact, we might get them to introduce themselves in a moment. So they're the trust and they're involved in the judging as well. Okay, so let's hand over to Slavka, and perhaps you could say a bit more about what the trust is. Here we are. Here's our slide.
Hi,
and introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, I'll introduce myself. So I'm Slavka Jovanovic. As you can see from my little screen, I work at the Brighton Dome. I'm a producer there working on the Brighton Festival and on the year-round programme. But when I'm not doing that, I'm an artist and a photographer, and I was really fortunate to receive a Creative Commissions grant a couple of years back before I joined the trust. So I was able to do my own project, Angels All Around, which focused on carers in the area, and it shone the spotlight on them and all the work that they do, all the unpaid work and commitment that they have to the people that they care for. So I'm well versed in the process of creative commissions and the ambition from the artist's perspective, and I was really grateful to receive those funds. And then I was invited onto the trust as a trustee, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic to be able to support artists and support the local arts scene. So yes, I'm here to talk a little bit more about the Trust. As you can see, it's a limited company and a registered charity. And we aim to promote the arts and the culture and heritage across Ada and Worthing. And it's important to put that emphasis on Ada. We're not just Worthing based, we reach out across the region. We're here to stimulate the economy and employment and regeneration in the local creative and digital sector, both physically and virtually. And we also actively support Ada and Worthing Council's strategy, A Commitment to Culture. We encourage inclusive cultural activities, we expand opportunities to participate in the arts, and we raise the profile and reputation of Ada and Worthing for cultural excellence and innovation. So that's it from me so far.
All right, thank you, Slavka. So the Trust supports Colonnade House and also does this project. And I would just like to emphasise, perhaps you can see that in there from what the mission statement is, that it is involved in Colonnade House physically and so on, but also we reach out into the community. We're very involved with all kinds of other groups and so on in the local area, supporting them in their creative aspirations. And I'm a great believer from my background in the Chamber of Commerce. I was vice chair for many years on creative thought, being involved in all kinds of entrepreneurship. So creative thought and the arts are, spread out into all sorts of things. We've been very involved in the growth of the digital infrastructure and the digital economy locally here. It's huge in this area, both in terms of the arts and other areas, and we really support that. So it isn't just the physical buildings and all that kind of thing, it's all of that kind of network that reaches out. Okay, so let's go over now to Tom. Would you like to talk about Creative Commissions, what the grants are actually for, please? And introduce yourself, Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom Gillam, and I'm a part-time artist, and I've exhibited at Colonnade House previously and other sites in Brighton and in London. I'm also part-time, I work for West Sussex County Council, working on large regeneration projects as a day job, a part-time day job. So in terms of Creative Commissions, what are they for? They're to support the creation of new work that can be shared by the public, and that's important. So we did have some dance projects proposed last year. As Karen said, we didn't have loads, but we had a few, and they had to demonstrate how, or any arts projects, how they can be shared with the public. The commissions are there to support locally based creatives, particularly those who haven't received funding. So when we say locally based, they need to have a home base in the Ada and Worthing area. They can work as part of a larger team, which are outside the Ada and Worthing area, and we support collaborative projects working with artists and creatives in different areas, towns and cities, but the key person making the application should be based in the Ada and Worthing areas. And we want to create opportunities for networking, like collaboration and co-production and participation, and sort of involve people living in the Ada and Worthing area. We want to promote Ada and Worthing as a creative area. It's becoming a much more creative area. I moved from London to the Ada area I live in just over 11 years ago, and I can see a big change. I came down for a job in Brighton and Hove and now work for West Sussex, and I've moved around and worked in different areas, and I can see that Ada and Worthing is really getting a more creative buzz, and there's arts groups, there's open houses, there's art trails, there's creative projects being put on various places, and we would like to see and promote more of that. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Tom. Right. Okay, so to kind of illustrate what this all means and drill down into that, we're going to just briefly talk about each of the commissions we did during 2022. And I hope that illustrates what's going on. So here's the first one. Site Support Worthing is a charity based in Rowlands Road, which is west of the pier. Actually, it used to be called Rufflands Road in the old day because there was a brickworks there, and the people who worked there used to drink a lot of beer and get drunk on the beach. So it was called Rufflands. So it got gentrified a while ago into Rowlands Road. Although I think we should change it back to Rufflands. Anyway, that's a side issue. Site Support Worthing supports people who are visually impaired. And this project was to celebrate the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. They got together with various local artists, and there's a huge long list of them, and so on, to make banners and crowns to celebrate the Jubilee. All of these projects, you can have a look on the Colonnade House website and find out a bit more about them. And then they had a tea together, which I attended, very nice too. You can see us all eating cream tea there at the end. So that was a wonderful way for a lot of people in the community to be involved in actually creating things through workshops. You wouldn't necessarily think, first of all, about people with visual impairment doing that sort of thing. But of course, it's perfectly possible and wonderful for people to get the confidence to do it if their sight is starting to fail them a bit. Okay, so that was the first one, site support. Then the next one, Queens on the Coast. This was a new thing for us to do, supporting the LGBT community locally. We were approached by Jacob Chilmaid, who is a student at Northbrook College, to put on a show at Coast Cafe on the seafront, a drag show, which we thought that sounded pretty interesting. And it was a wonderful evening. I went along, there were lots of performers there, all students, many of whom hadn't performed in public before. So it was a great opportunity for them. And lots of people turned up to watch. It was very enjoyable, very, very entertaining. And I learned a new acronym. There were some AFAB Queens. I didn't know what that was before. Had to quickly Google it. It means assigned feminine at birth Queens. So they're quite young women. So I went into the ladies' toilets, like, who are these gorgeous young women? Anyway, they were the AFAB Queens, and the show was brilliant. I think you popped along, Tom, didn't you, as well? And Joe Cox was there too. It was a really good evening, and they went on to be asked to participate in other events in Worthing after that. And I know they've started now hoping to do more similar kind of shows and make it more of a thing in Worthing. There hasn't been an enormous, drag scene in Worthing before, and it's certainly, there was a lot of comedy, dance, music, and wonderful outfits involved in that event. And then if we go on to the next one, is Skate Reel. I've always loved skateboarding. My oldest son was really keen on skateboarding, and now it's an Olympic sport. I hope you watched Sky Brown win her gold medal. Amazing. So this was a local skateboarding group for young people, started by Dale Lay and run by him. And he wanted to help them to create videos of skateboarding. I don't know if you know much about skateboarding. It's always been very involved culturally with music and visual arts, with video, and now with film and those kind of things. And this was kind of to celebrate that. And it also supports a lot of young people who have some challenges in being at school and getting to school and things like that, to build up their confidence. So they got together with a local filmmaker, Andy Evans, and made lots of little videos. And then they were shown at the Cellar Arts Club. I think there were 25 entries. It was great, including the skateboarding Velociraptor, which I particularly liked. But it was very entertaining and very inspiring. Lots of great young people involved in doing that. And that was a new thing. I think Dale had applied before for grants but not been successful. And we helped him to get through that process and do a really successful project. And I'm sure they'll go ahead and do it again. So that kind of demonstrates sort of different kind of things that we might get involved in doing.
Aaron,
Okay.
I think have they got a performance in Colonnade House?
I was just about to say, we're going to screen the films again this Saturday at 12:30. So Saturday the 28th at 12:30 at Colonnade House, we'll be screening all the films again.
I was going to try and come along with my son if possible.
It's well worth it. They're really good short videos, very entertaining. And inspiring, so if you want to pop along, I'm sure anybody would enjoy that, particularly if you like skateboarding, but even if you don't, it will be very entertaining. The music's really good too, of course. That's great. Thank you, Richard. Okay, the next one, Just Add Water. Tom, could you speak on this one, do you think?
Yeah, this is the Wild Water Swimming Club that meet on Worthing Beach, but what they wanted to do is do, you know, sort of push, rather than just have photographs of people on the beach and then jumping in the sea. They wanted to take a cameraman out to film them whilst they're doing it, what the experience was like out in the open sea. And you can see some clips from the film just on the screen there. So it was entered into sort of documentary, local and international film festivals, in terms of promoting this new sort of sport, leisure, activity. It's almost, it's almost a culture of sea swimmers, which, so it's interesting. And often I go down to the beach and I see the sea swimmers there, but seeing this all put together and promoted, and it really promotes the creative, the sort of the whole sort of club and society of, you know, going out there together and swimming, and a well put together piece of work.
Could I just add that? Please. So the film is directed by Christian Coben, and we are screening that film again on the 3rd of February. It's already sold out, which is great. Wow. It's not great if you wanted to come, but that he will be doing other screenings again in the future. It's already won Best Documentary Short at the Big Fridge International Film Festival, and is an official selection, as you can see on the screen, at a number of other festivals. They did a big Jubilee dip together, in which 70 sea swimmers turned up,
yes,
of which he interviewed a number of them, and there's over 50 featured in the film. And Christian's actually used this to spur him on to go and get some other funding. So he was relatively new to Worthing, and this was his sort of love letter to the Adur Worthing Coast, in which he used as an opportunity to celebrate and also become involved with that sea swimming community. So it's a great film, but also a great story of how an artist can find their own community and then jump onto the next thing from it, I think.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you for pointing that up. It's one of the things we try and do as well, is helping people get started on getting funding so they can go on to get other sorts of funding and be involved in other things. I mean, I think Christian had a history in other places too, but quite a few of our applicants, once they've got that bit of funding from us, it helps them get more funding from elsewhere. They can show that they can actually deliver the project. We take that punt because we want to give them a go, and then it can go on to bigger and better things. And one of the people involved with Christian was Katie Solahub. She did a project last year, Immersed, a visual arts project, also about sea swimming, cold swimming. It's a massive thing in Worthing, isn't it? I've got the nice outfit, but I haven't been in yet, but I'm working on it. It's a bit chilly still. But yes, I'm sure that will go on to bigger and better things as well. So hopefully he'll put it on again soon so that other people can see it. Right, so the next one is Weaving Wool Together. This is was a beautiful project, the community craft project. And when we pan out, you can see one of the pieces of work is hanging just behind me here at Colonnade House. So this took place at the community farm. Katie Gander organised this one. She's a local shepherdess and works with wool and so on. So it involved shearing the sheep, as you can see, and then carding the wool and doing all the things you do with it, spinning it, weaving it, and dyeing it with natural colours and so on. And then ultimately felting it and making it into some beautiful things. Here you can see one of them there. And also creating some looms from sticks and bits of wood, which I try to do in my garden with my grandchildren. It's great fun. Just put some sticks together and have a go with some wool and raffia and so on. Really good fun. And they worked also with Agecraft. Agecraft is a local charity which tries to get younger and older people together, working together and exchanging experiences. A lot of this happens in Sompting, which has a long history of farming, of course, and market gardens. So it's good to hear some of the history of what's happened locally and get the older people telling the younger ones about what's happened and where tomatoes really come from, or milk. You know, it doesn't just arrive in a plastic container. It has a history. Sustainable Sussex and their farm involved in this too, and they have quite a few disabled young people come along and work in the farm there, and they have a nice site that you can go and visit there. So I'm sure she'll be doing some more workshops, Katie. I would encourage you to go and have a go. It's really, really inspiring and very beautiful.
Well, maybe I could add a quote from Katie here, Karen, where
Yeah.
she said, "We now have all the equipment needed for continuing to facilitate craft workshops with wool, including dye materials, stainless steel pots and sieves, a wool dyeing rack, and wet needle felting tools. So this initial fund has helped her to create something that she can now roll out again and again and again."
Fantastic. There you are. That's really great. Really beautiful project. And a good news too is they're now building a loo at the site, which is a very important thing for those of us in the older community. Really handy. Okay, so the next one is Figment Arts with Superstar Arts. Richard, would you like to talk about that?
Sure thing. Yeah. As we were installed, and you can see there's pictures of Colonnade House there because we installed it. So Figment Arts collaborated with a Worthing charity called Superstar Arts together, who support learning disabled and autistic participants to visit Highdown Gardens and produce creative responses to the coming of spring. And this included photography, video, and a massive kaleidoscope. You can see one of the images on the screen right now. So they used the giant kaleidoscope to create abstract patterns and textures from the videos and photos that the group took. And then the work was exhibited at Colonnade House in June, and then went on to tour to go into Neighbourhood Store, which is in Shoreham, and they exhibited there as well. And they've now got an ongoing relationship with Highdown Gardens, in which they hope to show it in that room there as well. And to use another quote from one of the organisations to show just what this initial funding has meant to them, David Parker of Figment Arts told us that the funding from Adur Worthing Creative Commissions helped us to unlock further funding from the Arts Council England. This has meant that we've been able to run an art studio for learning disabled and neurodivergent artists for the last 8 months out alongside this project. So it's really helped take them to that next bit. And I was speaking to David today about what they're going to do now with the Arts Council. We also have some of their work on show in the gallery for the next 2 weeks, and Figment Arts will be coming back over the next 2 weeks as well to bring their kaleidoscope, hopefully. So keep an eye out on the Colonnade House website for that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Yes, I really enjoyed it. Came to that evening where they had the kaleidoscope and you could interact with it. It was great fun. And also some poetry and music from the young people involved in the project. It was a really fun combination of things. Also, if you haven't been to Highdown Gardens, their new exhibition space up there has a few things going on in it. And what used to be the gardener's cottage, I think, wasn't it? You know, that's relatively new. Okay, so next, Coastal Creatives. Yeah, perhaps you'd like to talk about this one, Richard, as well.
Sure. So staff at Colonnade House are also responsible for the 2 seafront gallery spaces, one of which is the seafront gallery, the Gabions, and the other is the West Shelter. So this project was a collaboration by 3 local artists: Amanda Beck, who's an artist and illustrator; Con Haslett, who's a beach trash artist and artivist, as she calls herself; and Chris Beck, who's a songwriter. So they all approached the idea of conserve, create, and change from their different practices, and they're on a mission to sort of celebrate that coastline, hence why they wanted to exhibit on the West Shelter. And they staged a few events at the West Shelter where you could come along and talk to Amanda Beck about sketchbooks and how to get the best out of your sketchbook and what to observe and how to get involved from a sort of artivist perspective. And the exhibition on the West Shelter was actually extended. So they installed in July and it ran all the way to December 2022. We've now got a number of these pictures up at the gallery as part of the Creative Commissions exhibition. But you can see one of Carmen's pictures there. She uses debris from the beach, rubbish from the beach, to create these amazing, colourful creations. Amanda and Chris both received Developing Your Creative Practice funds from the Arts Council this year and last year as well. So mixed with this fund again has really helped them push their practice forward. And it created a new creative trio, which is great to see.
Fantastic. Yeah, if you look at the octopus there, I really like this octopus. I don't know if you can see it very well, but those are the nets you get your lemons in from the supermarket. So I've been saving up my nets and then trying to figure out what the green bit is and how to make a lovely octopus. I'm fond of those. When my grandchildren visit, we go down beach combing. It's our favourite thing to do, collecting, bits of debris or maybe some seaweed shells and things like that. There's so many things you can make from stuff that you find on the beach. And one of the things I think that Chris that did with finding the stones with the faces on, and then creating poetry and music about those. There's an exhibition of that at Colonnade House at the moment, but we're always looking for stones with little eyes or holes, things like that, that just remind you of something or someone. It's a wonderful resource living near the beach, isn't it? Very, very, very inspiring. Right, and then the last one, oh no, it's not the last one, sorry. The next one is upon seeing the sun disappear behind the barn. I'm going to ask you to speak about this one, Richard. This one hasn't actually been done in public yet, but any minute, I think. Is that right?
Oh, right, yeah. So this is a Simon Wilkinson project to create an augmented reality app. An augmented reality is where you'd look through your camera and it would be putting animations on top of real life. So you'd be looking, that's probably not the best explanation, but that is it in a nutshell. It's the story explores the relationship between a medical robot and a child who's in that robot's care, a narrative which compares the way the robot sees the world with the way the child sees the world, exploring what it means to be human. And I have seen the project, and Simon is in the process of installing it at the Dome Cinema in Worthing, and next week he'll be installing it at the Studio Gallery at Colonnade House. So what we found over the years, I think you'll agree, Karen, is there are always, well, not always, but quite often difficulties with some of the more ambitious tech-based projects.
Yeah.
But fortunately for Simon, he kept on persevering, and after a number of setbacks, has now launched it on the Google Play Store and is installing it in both these places. What we say with, and what the Creative Commission's criteria says, is that your work has to take place within the year, so finishing on the January following. So for this year, your work has to be completed by January 2024, is what it says within the criteria. So Simon is just about getting in there with this one, but has remained. And what's important as well is, as Colonnade House staff assist you with, and Karen and the trustees assist you with the ongoing process, if you are successful with an application, is to just remain in contact and to keep us up to date with what's going on. And if you do hit any hurdles or do come across any problems, to let us know, and so we can help you either get past that, or that we can help you pivot the project towards something else that will work. And I think Simon's is a good example of that.
Yes, thank you, Richard. That's a very good point. I mean, it does seem to be particularly a problem with film and animation. I suppose there's a lot to it, and it takes a while to do, and with apps and so on. But
we have a saying in the gallery:
do our best to support them. Yeah.
Audio visual will always go wrong. It's you know, whenever we have a more ambitious exhibition hang, if it's got projectors and sound and everything, we like to get it in a few months early just so we can test it. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, if you remember the Snore project, which went on to do great things at all kinds of festivals, that was with puppets and all sorts of things, a film project. That took a while to realise for various reasons, but it was a great success in the end. Wow. So the aim is certainly to get things done within the year, but and usually they are, but just talk to us if you run into a few problems. You can never foresee all these things. Great, thank you. We look forward to seeing that one. And then the last one is Black History Month. This was headed up by Spring into Soul. Here they are, celebrating Black History Month, which runs throughout October, which, you know, has not been celebrated in a big way in Worthing and Ada over the years, but it's gradually growing. And they did various things. They had, being a choir, they had events at Audio Active, at Coast, and the Cellar Arts Club, where you could go and participate, actually. And they also went into schools and did things. So you can find out more about that if you look onto our website. So so just trying to give an example of how this all works by going through some of those things there. You can find out more about the projects on the Colonnade House website. So let's go over to Slavka. Could you talk about who can apply? Please. Hello?
Yes, hi. Hello.
Hi there. Hi. So who can apply?
Okay, so as Tom had said before, the lead applicant must be based in Ada and Worthing, so actually living at an address in those areas. Yes, I'm just reminding myself of what I did when I yes, we like the projects to be collaborative, so you must work with at least one other creative. So to just expand the love really and create connections in the area. So it's not a program for solo projects. That's an important thing to take note of. So it's really important that you share your work publicly. So you need to think of some way of presenting it either in a gallery or another public space if it's a hanging piece, or as we've said before, it can be a theatre show, a dance piece, a creative art trail, but it must be open to people being able to come and view it and enjoy it as a piece of art or performance. Young people are welcome to apply, which is brilliant. You know, we want to extend the reach of artists from young to old. So yeah, young people can definitely put in an application, but if it's part of a student coursework or a final show, then it's not eligible. So it has to be outside of formal education, a personal project. And we like to be as accessible as possible in terms of applications. So if you want to request an alternative application format because of a disability or because of digital access requirements, then email Joe Cox and he will arrange an alternative way of making your submission.
All right, thank you, Slavka. I should mention there are two things that pop up with that are if you need a venue for your project, which you will do if it's a performance, you might want to check that out when you do your application, that something might be available. We don't provide the venues. We can help you with contacts and so on, but we don't actually provide that for you. The same with licensing. If it's going to be a performance, you might need to at least be familiar with the process of licensing. I would actually, the biggest problem we found with this is with sculpture. It's quite hard to place sculpture. So you need to think about where you're going to put the sculpture. It's not automatically going to be allowed to be put on the seafront. So you need to think about those things. Come and talk to us as well. But there are things involved because these things, as I say, must be shared in some way with people in Adur and Worthing. Okay, great. Okay, so we've got a special one this year. I mentioned at the beginning, the Worthing Festival Award. Worthing Festival runs 10th to 18th of June. It's being formed as we speak. So really it's a collection of things going on and being created in Worthing. The initiative comes from the council, not from us, but we thought we'd like to support it by setting aside £500 to £1,000 for a new project to take place at Colonnade House. It must meet the criteria and it must take place during the Worthing Festival. So it could be anything. Have a good think about that. To do that, in addition to the £500 to £1,000, the hire charge for the gallery spaces has been waived. But you must provide public liability insurance and sign a hire agreement. But we're happy to meet and explain any aspect of that and to help with the install and de-install. So that's an exciting new thing going on this year. If you look at, if you contact the council, Rita Garner particularly, she's very much the prime mover in supporting the Worthing Festival this year. I'm sure it's going to go great guns, and we're very happy to support it. This is the first year. It's kind of a pilot project, and we hope it will come back. There used to be a Worthing Festival years ago, and then it kind of went away, but it's back now. That's great.
So just that you can also contact us at the gallery if you want to find out more about Worthing Festival or discuss anything to do with it.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard. Yeah, that's great. Good point. Right. So assessment. How do we assess your application? That's Richard, if you'd like to just go through that. Can't hear you. You're muted. There we are.
So I've been muting myself between us. So yeah, this is, as it will say on screen, just a breakdown of what we look for when assessing your application. And by us, I mean the trust will meet to go through all of the applications. So first is the innovation and uniqueness of your idea and proposal. If similar things are being suggested and it's not something that stands out and there's lots of other things on the table, you can imagine how it might not make it through. having a clear idea, has been said before, about how you're going to share your work with the public. So, for instance, that app that I was talking about, the augmented reality app, Simon thought quite clearly about how that was going to reach people digitally, but also in person, how they were going to be able to come and see it if they didn't have access online or similar. So what are the opportunities for collaboration and partnership between local creatives? So within the sort of ones that we've shown you, the awardees for the last year, we've shown you ones where people have collaborated with other artists, with other organizations, and with different types of community groups. So that's quite wide. There's lots of opportunities for and interpretations of what collaboration and partnership might mean with that one. And how it will help to promote Ada and Worthing as a creative area. Again, that's so wide, and it provides you with lots of opportunities to sort of argue how that might promote Ada and Worthing. It could be promoting Ada and Worthing in a new way, like Queens of the Coast did, seeing the fact that an event like that hadn't taken place before, and that there was a need and space for a project like that. Or maybe it could be furthering something that you feel needs to be seen again or to be built upon. And then this one's really important, especially with the filmmakers out there. How realistic and achievable is your project? We've mentioned film a couple of times because, of course, it's something that's fantastic to support, but you have to, if you've not made a film before, you really have to break down and have a very clear idea of that timeline of what it's going to take to achieve that and screen it within a year. So that's a one to think about. How our grant fits with the overall funding of your proposal. So again, we've mentioned other funding pots that can exist alongside this. So this just might be something to support a much larger project, to go alongside Arts Council funding or other types of funding pots that exist out there. And how this project will make a difference to your future development. This one is so good. I love reading the reports when we get them all in at the end, because it's a great time for you to, at the beginning, when you're writing your application, to think about where you want to go, how this is going to help you go forward. And then as you go through, evaluate, and then at the end, be very honest with what it's done, the differences, the things that went wrong, the things that went well, and where you are now. So, you know, having that thought process early on of where you want this to take you, and then being honest with us at the end at where it did and where you're going next. We love keeping in contact with people afterwards and seeing what they do next. And as I've said a couple of times, we at the gallery are always here to discuss your projects and future projects. We work with the Arts Council and get lots of different funders in to talk to people. So this could just be that first step for you. Yep. And then we've got submitting your application. Would you like me to do this one as well, Karen?
I would actually, yes.
Sure. So this is now live. I've done this today. So if you go to colonnade-house.co.uk and then to our about page for creative commissions, the download application form link is now live. So you can download that, read the questions, and start to scribble all over them. So the deadline for applications, you've got a little while, is Sunday the 5th of March. Where's the nice one? I was going to say Karen has previously been available for asking questions, but we at the gallery are also available. So if you've got an application idea and you're really unsure, don't suffer in silence. Get in contact with us and we'll try our best to help you realize whether it's something that's worth pursuing, or whether whether you don't necessarily fit the criteria. So I will organize 50% of your award when you have signed your acceptance form, and then 50% will be paid to you after you've put in that final report. That's what I just said. I've preempted myself. Yes. And that takes us to the end.
Yes.
Whizzed through.
Great. Well done. Yeah, and I would say the final report, it is really important because we need to find the money to do this. So we want your great applications and so on, and the great events and all that kind of stuff. But we need a report as well to see how it went. And part of that would probably be how many people did you get there and who were they? Did you reach the audience that you thought you would? That sort of thing, and how it might do it better in the future. That's all really helpful to us and to future applicants. So make sure you know, if you got one of the awards, that you keep a good record of everything that you're doing like that. And that means that we can all go on to work together more and more in the future. Right. So make sure that you have a look at the criteria and you fit them. And as Richard said, you can contact us to check, see if there's anything you've missed. We're quite happy to talk to you about all these things. Right. So are we ready for the Q&A? Have we got any questions in the...
We don't have any questions in the chat. I've just messaged everyone in there to
Yeah.
see, but feel free to unmute yourself if you do have one, or write it in the chat and I can ask it for you.
Yeah, or put a little hand up, something like that. Oh. Well, we've obviously been so thorough.
They're all
Yeah.
asleep.
There's only one thing, and I should know this, is just it says when they open, but not it says when we close for applications, Richard and Karen. Forgive me, there wasn't a date there to say the panel make deliberations and get back and confirm what sort of timescale. Sorry, I should know this off the top of my head, and I don't. So
Yes.
when would successful applicants hear, do you think?
Good question.
No, that is a question to myself because I should know the answer.
No, we were quite general with that in the end from the last meeting we had, insofar as we said all successful applicants would be notified by the end of March. But it would be I imagine it to be sooner than that, and I also I would also get in touch with every unsuccessful applicant to also let them know that they haven't been successful.
We just make sure you all know. We don't give detailed feedback if you're unsuccessful, because that's quite difficult. But I would say also that we like to have a little gap, because we have the meeting where we just you know, do the judging, and sometimes we have a couple of extra questions. Maybe people have missed something that they didn't realize they'd missed, so we're not too hard-nosed about this. Also, you know, I'll have a look at them beforehand, so if someone's forgotten a little bit and not put it in there, I might quite likely phone them up and say, don't forget you need a venue, or have you thought about licensing, or have you thought about the child protection issues, you know, those kind of bits and pieces, that it's not all in there or not all obvious. So it's not too scary a process. So that's why we leave a little bit of time in case there's anything that needs following up that people need to do. Okay. All right. So everybody's happy with all of that? No questions?
Okay, we've got a question from Lisa.
Oh, right. Okay.
Can't
see that. Sorry, Lisa. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
I'll mute myself so you can see me also, because I find that a bit rude sometimes. I'd like to say that was really, really informative. I'm a treasurer of a local art club, and I'm actually a finance officer at Turning Tides Homelessness. So I wanted to see personally what we could actually achieve together with yourselves. So it's come forward in a really positive light for us, and I'm sure we'll be making something in the future.
Right. Thank you, Lisa. And do contact us, you know, outside of this meeting if there's anything else you want to know. That would be great. Yeah,
that's fabulous. Thank you.
That's brilliant. And I would say to anybody who's here, spread the word amongst all your contacts. I'm sure this is a massive network, isn't it? Yeah. If all of you have 10, 15, 20 people you can send this information to, that spreads our net even further, doesn't it? Thank you so much. Right. Any other questions? I can't see any. No. Okay.
So we've got a message from
Sarah.
Sorry, it was obscured on my screen. Who's saying unfortunately they're in Brighton, so they can't apply.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
If Sarah, it's whether you can find an artist that might want to collaborate with you who lives in the Adur Worthing area. If you've got a great project idea and you've got contacts in the area, you might want to make a joint, or you know, as long as they're the lead applicant and you work together and collaborate on it, it's no reason why it shouldn't happen.
No, it would have to happen in Adur Worthing, obviously. Yeah.
For instance,
you can engage an audience in Adur Worthing and beyond, and you could display at multiple sites. The display has to happen in the Adur Worthing area. You're right, Karen, but it could be, you could actually display it elsewhere too.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Yeah.
I was just going to say it's not a trust awarded exhibition, but the one on the West Shelter right now, the Food Foundation, that was a local organisation looking for a creative, and so we at Colonnade House introduced them to Sam Farrow, a local photographer, and that meant that was an artist community organisation pairing. So if there's any community organisations that you think you could do something interesting with, you could make yourself both artist and facilitator in that regard.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's really helpful. I need to talk to you, Richard, so I shall be in touch.
Please do. Yes, send me an email or come in.
Yes, I will. Yeah.
Yeah, do. Right. So anybody else? Any questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you all for being here. Please spread the word, as I say, and I'm sure you all know all kinds of people. And I just emphasize again, any genre we're looking for. We do tend to get a lot of visual arts applications, which of course we love. But we do like to have lots of other ones. We try and cover as many genres as possible, only if they're good, high quality projects. Obviously, we don't just do a dance one because it's the only one. We wouldn't do that. No, but you know, if there's a couple of good dance projects and then there's 20 good visual arts projects, you can see that your chances are lower. That kind of thing of getting in. So we try and cover as many things as possible. And also we try and cover all the age groups locally so that we have something for each of the age groups, because a lot of these projects are participatory, which we hope they will be. So we try and do that, and all different kinds of abilities as well. So we try and have a kind of broad thing that covers all sorts of stuff, as it were. So just bear that in mind too. Right. So I don't know, a dance project for babies probably would be a winner, you know. But who knows? Always a winner, yeah. Okay.
Great.
Right. Okay. Well, this will be on the website, won't it?
We're going to upload this to YouTube after I maybe edit the beginning and then a little bit. But yes, this will be available. We're doing an in-person launch at the gallery this evening. And like Karen said, we are also available for your questions or anything like that. Please do come and visit us at Colonnade House as well.
Yeah, and we're really looking forward to seeing your proposals. It's a very exciting thing for us to do. It's the icing on the cake for me as a trustee, I have to say. I really love this. And it's a shame we can't do them all, but we can't. So we usually do about 8, 9, 10 of the applications. So it's a good variety. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Spread the word. All right.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Bye now.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.